The WNBA season opened this week, and already it's full of yummy, yummy, yummy controversy. For all those out there who say we don't talk about women's sports, here you go. Here it is. In the game against the Fever in the Sky, famed self-proclaimed villain, Angel Reese, decided to foul a human being allegedly named Natasha Howard. And when the refs didn't see the foul, Caitlin Clark took it upon herself to perform a take foul, because it better have Angel Reese go to the free throw line and to get the easy layup. And then that's when the refs woke up, because soon after, Angel Reese decided to chase Caitlin Clark down the sidelines while Caitlin Clark just nonchalantly walked back to her bench. After the game, Caitlin Clark was asked whether or not she meant anything by it. She said, no, it's called a take foul. It's what it's what you practice for. It's what you're told to do. It's a common play. Angel Reese, on the other hand, was asked, hey, how did it feel to have to be singled out that way? And of course, she gave an answer about racism and all the things that just didn't happen in that game at all, other than basketball itself. But this monologue is not about what happened between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. It's about the WNBA itself. The WNBA can go out into the echelons of history, like successful businesses, like Enron and Blockbuster. And I cannot understand at all how the NBA can continue to operate just based off the simple fact of trying to pull dumb race cards the entire time. This is a failing business. And they're the only ones who can't honestly see that it's a failing business. But going back to this stuff on the court, Angel Reese, yeah, I get it. She's going to sit there and act like the victim, even though before the game started, she came out and said, hey, people are watching the games, all 10 of them. And if it takes me to be the one, to be the villain, hey, I will be the villain. Angel, no one asked you to do anything. No one asked you to play WNBA basketball, except maybe the 10 people that showed up. I know I didn't, and I've never been happier that LSU didn't win a national championship other than the team you were on. I'm so happy you didn't, because I do not want that school connected to you in any sort of famous way. But it got worse. And how so? Well, because, for once, RG3, in quite some time, said something sensible. And he said something that made a lot of sense. And he called out Angel Reese for her bullcrap, called out Angel Reese for whatever she said that she self-proclaimed herself. She's the villain. There was no racism happening in that game. There was nothing nefarious that took place between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. It was part of basketball. It's what every single person who's ever been trained to play basketball, who's practiced, and anyone who's watched, except the 10 who go to WNBA games, it's what we know that happens. Well, when RG3 responds this way, none other than Ryan Clark comes out and he just opens his dumb mouth and then decides to make one of the worst comments you could ever make about a sports take that he disagreed with. Now look, I can sit here and I have my own feelings about Ryan Clark. Hell, I got my own feelings about RG3, despite the one sensible thing he said in the week. But you never ever bring up another man's wife, another man's kids, his family. You never ever do that. It is absolutely out of bounds. And Ryan Clark, before you kind of misconstrue what I mean there, out of bounds means it's out of the field of play, okay? That wasn't racism. But this entire debacle just highlights how bad the WNBA is and how much it would rather not even accept the fact it's a failing business venture. You can sit there and you can cry and scream all you want and say, hey, I love the WNBA. Well, if you do, how come you're not there? If you ask anybody in the crowd, hey, who's the best player in WNBA? Or people say Caitlin Clark. And people say, how many people go to the game? The 10 people in the back will raise their hands, but you can't see their faces because they're too ashamed to admit they go. The WNBA needs to change. In fact, the WNBA just needs to go by the wayside. It needs to be done because it is a failing venture. No one watches it. And the only reason we're talking about it is because of a fake race claim and fake race hoax that we're sitting here saying none of that ever happened. And thanks to Ryan Clark and his dumb mouth, we get to talk about it even more. Or should I say, we bring it up more because now it's in the focus of our TVs and everything we look at on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. So the next time something happens in a WNBA game, here's what we do. Let's not talk about it. In fact, the 10 people who go, why don't you protest? Just don't go. But in the meantime, as long as these things keep happening, and as long as people continue to make up claims and make up stories just to make the WNBA fun, I guess it's better than watching the T-Wolf fan do coke on the Jumbotron. Guys, this is another weekly edition of your Box Scores and Bourbon.
Look at the box scores.
Box Scores
and Bourbon.
We check each other's box scores and scores online.
Baseball, Box Scores.
So football, baseball, basketball, soccer, hockey.
Box Scores and Bourbon.
All right, Manny.
All right, JB. Let me open up my smoked whiskey.
You were saving that.
Yes,
You're
I was.
peacocking.
I
You're
was.
peacocking your bourbon.
I was.
Wow.
I am. I'm going all out, getting my little.
Oh my goodness, tongs?
Yes. We're stepping up
Man.
our whiskey game today, JB.
I haven't seen tongs since PBS was airing freaking Downton Abbey. Wow.
We're all ready to go with the nice, constructed whiskey. So let's cheers in our episode. Cheers, JB.
Cheers in, my man. Clink, clink. Nothing classier than that, especially after a classy monologue.
Heck yeah. Oh, that's good whiskey right there. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about the WNBA, JB, or the lack of interest for the WNBA. I have mixed feelings about it. I'm not one to shy away from necessarily of saying like women's sports need more attention. I agree with that, but I can't sit here and like defend the WNBA when it started. The season kicked off I think last week, and I've been watching some highlights of it, and all I'm seeing is these 7-foot females missing layups underneath the basket, and then getting rebounds like they're in the YMCA 50-year-old league, kind of missing the easy stuff. It makes it hard for me to kind of say this is a good league. We have quality basketball going on right now.
This is the epitome of competition here, my man.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
let's watch this 38-37 final.
Yeah, it's a little. Like I said, I'm not gonna sit here and bash the WNBA as far as like you shouldn't. I disagree with you that the WNBA shouldn't exist. But God, give me something to fight for with the quality of basketball you're putting on the court. And then we're talking Angel Reese. I've seen some highlights of her last few games. This girl, also part of the problem when it comes to her quality of basketball. Missing airballing three-pointers, missing rebound, traveling like 3-4 times a game. Like this is, I think my niece, which is 12, could possibly, if she was taller, compete for the same type of quality of basketball that they're putting on the court right now. Because it's just, it's that kind of content right now. Angel Reese is, I don't know if she's in the slump. I heard when she came into the league that she was supposed to give Caitlin Clark a run for the money for like the attention of the league. I don't know what it is about her, but it's not showing. It's really not showing. And the whole issue that she's having with Caitlin Clark, I heard this interesting take, or a good way that somebody phrased it. They said, for the quality of Angel Reese's basketball play that is happening right now, we know that there's supposed to be a rivalry between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Like, we know they hate each other. They don't like each other for whatever reason. Maybe they both think that they would deserve most of the attention, but there can't be a rivalry where you hate each other with only one of the players is really good at basketball, because then the other player just looks like they're jealous of quality, skilled competition. Angel Reese, if she wants to have this rivalry with Caitlin Clark, needs to be better at the fundamentals of football before she starts doing this whole off the court stuff. That is step number one. Because if not, we're just seeing. Tell me a player from the early '90s that was like the 16th player on the bench, and tell me that he hates Michael Jordan during his prime. That's what we're seeing right now. Between the quality of basketball that we're seeing, it doesn't make a difference if you hate the greatest player on your league, because you're not there to compete and you're not really making it a rivalry at that point.
Yeah, and it's just it's absolutely ridiculous. If this was Angel Reese against who they say the top player is, Aja Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
If this was Angel Reese and Aja Wilson, I can't believe I know those names. But if it was between these two, nothing's happening. Nothing. It is purely because Caitlin Clark is the face of the WNBA and she's white. That's it. That's the only reason. And Angel Reese can be as upset as she wants to be. Angel Reese's big claim to fame from when she was at LSU was her nickname, Bayou Barbie. That was it. She would flash her fake eyelashes and then go onto the court. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say that she doesn't have talent. Okay, she does have talent. Okay, but to sit there and to act like people are actually showing up to your games by the dozen, that they're there to see you. They're not there to see you, Angel.
No.
They're there to see Caitlin Clark.
Yes.
That's who they're there to see.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only... No one has talked about the WNBA since its inception until Caitlin Clark burst onto the scene, and then especially her senior year, and then took over the entire women's sports world, and then has now gone into the WNBA, and we talk about it. We talk about it. And yet, she acts as if she's this entitled child who lost her favorite toy to someone who didn't deserve it, when Angel didn't have anything in the first place other than being in the shadow of Caitlin Clark. Mm-hmm. So it's just, and then the WNBA, it is a failed business. It's failed. The NBA fronts this league. They give the WNBA all the money. Last season was the WNBA's best season by far. And they still lost upwards of what, $10 million?
Yeah, I don't know.
How is this possible? How do you continue to still say we're a viable sports venture? We're a viable franchise. Please keep giving us money. No one's coming here to eat our chicken sandwiches, but we're really good. Like 8 people really love us on Twitter. Mm-hmm. So please keep giving us money.
Yeah, I've seen the reports where whenever a WNBA game is happening in the respective home of one of the teams, they are regularly looking for a bigger stadium that can fit more people when Caitlin Clark comes into town. Any other time they're fine. They can fit, as you said, the dozens of people. Caitlin Clark makes them have to upgrade their stadiums or look for a different court that can actually fit the people. Hence, us saying, possibly the one that's making your league relevant is Caitlin Clark. And it goes to show, because we are talking about the WNBA since last year. Before last year, there was peeps about what was going on in that world. And I hate that I'm going to make this take. I really don't like what I'm about to say. But if Angel Reese is going to say the race card, somehow it's a race thing, maybe it's the other way because a white female has come into a African American or whatever other race you want to say league and dominated the sport. And maybe that's why she's hated. Maybe you're just like, you don't like that a white presence is taking over the attention of a league that's supposed to be like the empowerment of the black female.
God forbid a white person is good at something. It is verboten.
Like I said, it doesn't feel good for me to bring up the race thing, but if I have to say it how I see it. You're picking on the one, well, two. Sabrina Ionescu still exists. She's white. But the one all-star greatest figure in WNBA, and I have to say she's one of the few white females that is actually dominating that sport right now. So maybe don't play the race card unless you really have a full, like, an ace up your sleeve when it comes to, like, the facts behind what's going on.
Or maybe the ace up the sleeve could be talent. Maybe that.
God
Go
forbid.
one step further.
God
maybe
forbid,
be good.
baby. We don't
Be
talk.
good at your job.
We don't
I
talk
don't
about talent in the WNBA. We talk about drama.
That's right. I don't know why I said it, because it's like talent. There's talent there. I didn't know. Yeah. Where do I find that? Okay, so let's get to what I like to call competitive sports, and let's talk about the NBA and NHL. The conference finals.
Yes.
For both respective sports began yesterday.
Yeah.
In the NHL, with the Florida Panthers showing no sign of slowing down since they eliminated the Toronto Maple Leafs, crushing the Hurricanes 5-2 in Game 1. Nothing to say there that they're tired from a Game 7, from a 7-game series. And then you go to the other, to the first game of the NBA conference finals in the Western Conference, and same deal. You have the Thunder absolutely laying it on to the T-Wolves, and again, no sign of fatigue from having to go through a very tough 7-game series against the Nuggets.
Yeah.
It is.
Let me pause you. I'm gonna give you the take of the NHL. Tell me, JB.
Ooh.
We sat here and hyped up the NHL through the Maple Leafs and
Maple
the
Leafs
Panthers.
and Panthers series.
Yes.
Yep.
What happened to the Maple Leafs? What? Making us look bad. You were over here saying such a good series it was. I know it went 7, but what?
Look, and it was a good series, and Toronto had every single chance to win that series. And what it comes down to it is Atlanta's. I mean, not Atlanta's. I was thinking the Atlantic Division. Toronto's calling card in the regular season in the Atlantic Division was their defense. They completely abandoned that in this series. It went completely by the wayside. And so when you have Matthews, who's hurt, and who's been hurt the entire season, when you go away from your A game, if you can stick to your, I'll put it this way, if you can stick to your system, Toronto's system was defense. If you can stick to your system and play according to your system, if your A game's not there, you can win that game. You can win the series. But if you're not on your A game and you've also abandoned what got you there, you're going to lose. It's going to happen. And Florida looked just like the defending champs in that series. They absolutely took care of Toronto. Absolutely. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. Toronto failed at the one thing, at their calling card, and when they weren't on their A game, the entire thing fell down.
Yeah.
And now you're looking at Florida and how they handled Carolina. Poor Carolina. Carolina's like, can we just have a shot here, please? I got this other Southeast team. Okay, please. Can we just not have these Panthers anymore? Can we not have to come across them? We're a good team. We deserve a shot.
Yeah.
But as long as Carter Verhaeghe is a human being on this planet, Florida's always going to be in it.
Yeah.
So it's not I know I called for Canada to take back the Stanley Cup.
There's still a chance.
Okay. There's a chance because Edmonton's still in it. So the Jets failed us. The Maple Leafs failed us again for the 8th year in a row.
Canadian team don't fail us. The one Canadian team don't fail us that's left.
Let's go Oilers. For the sake of Wayne Gretzky's future ghost, just do this for him.
Yeah.
Do this for him.
Yeah.
Please.
You know what?
Please.
You know what I want to dive into just a little bit is the NHL becoming a very top-heavy league, I had to go verify from last year because as I was looking at the bracket, I'm like, this bracket looks familiar. Last year, the
very
three of the
familiar.
four teams in this year's conference finals are the same, the repeats from last year. We had we have a Dallas Edmonton rematch, and then we have Florida, the defending champions. Last year they went up against the Rangers. This year they're going up against Carolina. Three of the four teams.
Which is funny because the Rangers beat the Canes to get to the conference finals. So all you got to do is swap the teams, and they're right there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I'm curious. I haven't dove that deep into like how these teams necessarily are looking, but just based off of that, is the NHL kind of becoming like this like 4 or 5 like top heavy teams that are just constantly going to be rotating into the Stanley Cup? Because it seems like that way, especially. And I mean, I was on the Golden Knights train before they got eliminated by Edmonton, but even they have regularly been right there since their inaugural season. Like, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that because it seems to me like there's not. It's the top half and then the rest of the league.
Yeah, I honestly, you're not wrong. The way the NHL seems to be set up now is, you see a lot of players move. You see a lot more players move in the NHL than most sports.
Yeah.
Maybe not the NBA, but it's pretty up there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it really comes down to just structure, and it comes down to it honestly comes down to systems. Like, if you're looking at, just I talked about the Maple Leafs, their system is defense. The Canes have their system. Florida, Edmonton, Dallas, they have their system. And so if you can, it's all about incorporating talent and players to come in there to be able to help kind of set that foundation. And you can have a young team. I mean, the Chicago Blackhawks are going to have a young team. They're
going to have the youngest team soon, aren't they?
The 76ers of the NHL. They're going through a process right now. So it's going to take some time. But you will see in about 3 or 4 years, it will rotate.
It will.
It will.
Sure. And it's happened
this
before.
Reminiscent of the mid-90s when you had Dallas and you had Colorado and you had St. Louis. It was always these teams in the thick of it, and it comes down to system and coaching. And as long as the organizations continue to breathe life into the system, they're not worried so much about star power. They're worried about system.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were worried about star power, the Capitals would still be in it because Ovechkin's on there. Yeah. But this is all about building, about breathing life into a system, and then having the right coach in place to be able to help kind of push that out.
Yeah, and I guess I should have. It's not necessarily. It's. I guess you're right when it comes to like the rotation of the top heavy teams. There seems to be a cycle where like the good teams settle in and they become like the really good teams and they sit there for like 4 years, and then in the meantime all these other teams kind of develop their young players, do a good job at drafting, bringing in the young talent, and then they overtake that talent as that they rotate out, and then it's a rotation of like 3 to 4 years that happens. And even more recently, I think right before this like established like top dogs that we have currently, it was the era of the Tampa Bay when they won the three-peat. Was not that long ago, right? Am I remembering that correctly? They did the three-peat like
Let me see when that was.
4 years ago. I want to say it was when they finally kind of fell off. They were making a push regularly, and now they're not really competing for the Stanley Cup at all. But it was like a rotation of they were going up against a couple of teams that were fighting them, and then
they didn't three-peat. They won in 20 and 21. That's right, and they lost to Colorado in 22.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
it was supposed to be the three-peat year.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, my point is, like, even during that time, Tampa was always right there, obviously, because they were in the Stanley Cup 3 years in a row. But now they've fallen off. Now we have Florida kind of. What is pause? What is going on with Florida and being a hockey state?
I mean, it snows there.
Yeah.
So it contrary to popular belief, it actually snows quite a bit in Florida. It does. I mean, relative to,
For where it's at, you mean?
Louisiana.
The-
Yeah, I mean, it snows quite a bit. So, but it is. I mean, and this is what's interesting about the NHL is. It is very much just not a Canadian sport anymore.
Mm-hmm.
This is like embraced by Americans, and thank God it is. It's awesome. So because it's fun to watch, it's fun to. I mean, there's not a lot of parity in these conference finals. Opposite of what we'll talk about with the NBA, but this is, it is fun to be able to witness greatness. Mm-hmm. It is fun to be. I mean, every kid has their blanket because it brings them comfort. If you're a sports fan and you're like, oh, I want to get into hockey, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I know these 4 teams. They were 4 of the last 5 last season. So, and like I said, you swap the Rangers out with the Hurricanes, boom, you got the Final Four still. So it does help bring familiarity with a lot of these teams, and it helps you get easier into it because you don't have to every year look at 4 new teams in the finals, in the conference finals. Okay, well, now I gotta reset my head around this. So in one way it is good because it does encourage people to follow it because there's not a lot of you don't have to learn new digestive tracks in order to kind of take it all in.
At least not for 4 years.
Yeah. But I brought it up earlier. Let's get to the opposite of what we're seeing in the conference finals in hockey.
Yeah.
Let's get to these 4 new faces.
Yeah. Right.
In the NBA conference finals.
Yeah, because with the elimination of Denver, we have a Final Four of a team that's gonna either get their first championship or the first championship in, 20 years or something like that?
So 99 was when...
Yeah, so 26 years?
The Knicks... 99 is not even when the Knicks won. That's when they last went.
Right. The Knicks haven't won since I want to say the...
74?
the 70s. So either way, at this point, you might as well call it a new championship. That whatever championship they got at that point is probably already all... corroded and rusty and doesn't even stand on its own 2 feet. So we're gonna have relevance in our lifetime, a new champion, and I think it's for as much as we don't look for excitement or we're not too excited about the NBA regularly. I think it's pretty exciting that we have 4 teams that are fighting to get themselves back into finals and 4 teams that have an all-star that is trying to establish themselves as like the guy for their team and for the league. It's not a system team versus like an all-star team. It's a team that is built around one. Maybe you can argue Minnesota has 2 guys, depending on how you treat Gobert. But it's really like one guy that is establishing himself as like the face of that team, and one of these new faces, new era young talents is going to get their first championship here in the next 2 weeks. By the time we have a finals champion.
Yeah, if it was up to Aaron Gordon, it'd be 2 months from now because you need a week off between each game. But it is exciting, and and congratulations to SGA winning the MVP.
Yes,
congrats to him. Awesome news. Should be a surprise to no one that he won. Like I said before, I think in order to not distract, in order to make it a bigger headline, you should do all off-season awards before the playoffs.
Yeah.
So if you have an MVP, do it like days before the playoffs begin, so we can move on, and we don't have to be encumbered with, well, I wonder if they're going to win because of X, Y, Z.
Yeah. It becomes an
which, I mean, you have to think, it's like, did SGA edge out Joker because they just they just face each other in a 7-game set,
Well,
and the Thunder were
supposedly
victorious.
they lock in their votes at the end of the regular season. Supposedly.
Oh, okay. They just
Yeah,
Oh,
but they
it's
wait
the
to
only time
announce
the
it.
NBA uses snail mail.
Yeah.
They have to. They didn't put enough stamps on it.
They put
so you got
USPS to
return to
deliver.
sender.
I mean, the NFL has it right as much as we know the entertainment factor of the NFL. They have it right when they've made the awards like its own entertainment factor. The NBA should definitely like embody that and make a ceremony for the NBA players because it's like, oh hey, by the way, Shea got MVP and he's playing like he just played yesterday. Like it's a weird afterthought because we're in the middle of like the prime of the playoffs. They should really embrace having like a ceremony for it. I think we're right on that. But let's dive into the game that happened yesterday, at least to assess where we are in the playoffs right now. The Thunder kind of ran through Minnesota, and I have I'm not trying to take away from Minnesota getting to the Western Conference Finals, but I have to acknowledge the fact that perhaps Minnesota's path to the conference finals was a little bit easier than OKC,
It was.
and they kind of took that for granted a little bit. I think, in my opinion, that was what showed its face in Game 1 because they did not seem too prepared. It was a close game at halftime, and then it kind of got away from them. From looking at that game, I almost feel like they took the game for granted because they steamrolled a Curry-less Warriors in last round. Like they completely demolished the Lakers before that. They've had an easy path to the conference final, and I think they came into the series thinking we're so good we destroyed these teams, but really you didn't fully play a full-strength team, and they kind of just took that for granted, and OKC completely took advantage of that. They just went through the gauntlet of the playoffs in runs 1 and 2, and now they came prepared. They completely knew what they were up for. When you take down the Jokic-led Denver Nuggets, like you're gonna be prepared for pretty much anybody that comes in front of you at that point. And they seemed like they were ready for that stage, way better than they were last year.
Yeah. Well, let's not give Memphis too much credit, calling them a gauntlet. But OKC did. I mean, that divisional round was actually a tough one. You have to face the Nuggets.
Yeah.
And honestly, like anyone calling for OKC, like I was, to win the entire thing, which it still proves true to me that whoever the winner of the Western Conference is going to take the trophy.
Wow.
It's just I think that will happen. But as much as I was pulling for OKC to win the entire thing, I was very conflicted during that Denver series.
Yeah.
Because I like watching Joker. I think the Nuggets have a great team. I think they have something really good going on, and it works really well for them. And I mean, they took OKC to 7 games. OKC obviously triumphed, but if you look at OKC versus Minnesota, they both of these squads had to overcome something. OKC had to overcome the burden of just and the failure of last postseason with being a young, inexperienced team. Now they beat Memphis. Okay, great. Now we get to host Denver. This was an opportunity for them to show, yes, we are young, but we are no longer inexperienced.
Right.
And so that was them coming over the top on that one. When you look at the T-Wolves, and Ant especially, he was able to conquer the shadows of both LeBron and Steph. So
asterisk on the Steph because he didn't play him but a half.
I look, well, okay, well then say Draymond. Like it was like he was able to overcome both the shadow of LeBron and then the dynasty of Golden State.
Yeah.
So
he overcame the legacy all-stars that the faces of the NBA. That's true.
Yeah, and he did it while not going cold. And that was Ant's biggest was our biggest criticism of him last postseason. Was they would go on these really great 2-game stretches and he would just go cold.
Yeah.
He would disappear, and then once he disappeared, I mean, there's not a milk carton in America that didn't have his face on.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was, but this postseason, he has shown, okay, I'm here, I'm ready to ball, and I am ready to it almost seems as if he's saying, no one's asking me to, but I'm ready to take up the mantle. I want to be the face of this sport. I want to be the face of this league. So, congratulations to both of these teams making it. But game 1, and I didn't look up the stats on this, but it really seemed that that whole debate about being fresh or going long in a series, which one's a benefit. It honestly seems like to me, especially in the NBA, the more rest you have, the more rusty you seem.
Mm-hmm.
So OKC fought it out. It was a nail biter in that series outside of Game 7. I mean, they completely took control since the second half of the second quarter.
Yep.
But and they seemed to kind of just roll that over into Game 1 against Minnesota. But it really seemed like there is an advantage to being able to play these long series, go the full Monty in them,
Mm-hmm.
and then take a day off, or 2 days off, boom,
Yeah.
you start the next series. Now, and it helps that OKC was the home team. It helps that they had the entirety of the Little Riverwalk behind them and being able to cheer them on the victory.
Yeah. I mean, the even in the regular season, I think the longest you can go without a game would be 4 days at max without playing a game, and then you end up playing like back-to-backs and things like that. I could see where that would create some like stability with your routine, especially if you're used to how long is the NBA season? 2 years? 9 months or whatever. You go 9 months of taking no more than 3 days in between games, and then you do something like Minnesota did, where they completely obliterated their competition. Now they have like almost a week in between your next matchup. That I could imagine that messes with your routine. That messes up the flow of what you have going on. If you just keep the routine of, hey, we have games every 2 days, every 3 games, and then it bleeds into the playoffs. I could see that paying dividends, because it's not. I know you're playing more games, but at the end of the day, these players, they've built the routines around the season. They know how to like treat their bodies. They know how to rest. They know what their rest intervals are, and when they need to work out, and when they need to train, and when the practices are. You add 2 to 3 days whenever you do a clean sweep or an early sweep of a team, that's going to mess with your flow a little bit. So I could see where that would have impacted like Minnesota this game, which I think will be a good tell in Game 2 of this matchup against OKC. I want to see how they match up against them in Game 2, because that will be the telltale sign for this series, because now you should be back in your groove. You played a game, you have a day off, now you're playing again tomorrow. If you, at that point, are still going to show up in the same way that you did in Game 1, then there'll be some concerns, and the OKC might not... You might win one game again against OKC at that point. I think the crossroads point for Minnesota will be Game 2, in the fact that if you haven't found your routine after Game 2 and you're still getting obliterated as much as you did in Game 1, you're in big trouble. That's going to be the defining moment for the Minnesota Timberwolves, in my opinion, I think. Yeah,
I think it's going to come down to Ant showing up.
Yeah, and he got 18 points Game 1? Like that's not how he's supposed to play.
Yeah, and it is the most pressure in this series. I would argue is on OKC, of course, because 68 wins. Mm-hmm. You expect to run the gauntlet, go all the way. And even in that Memphis series, we all like, they may not lose a game. Well, they lost 3 already. So the most pressure is on OKC for sure. But there's also a lot of eyes on Ant to see how he responds in this series, how he responds to a Game 1 loss like that. And him being able to pick himself up off the court and deliver the way that we have seen him deliver thus far in this postseason.
Yeah.
Now, in the Eastern Conference, man,
it's gonna be a.
Is there a Jewish prayer that says Hallelujah? The Celtics aren't in it anymore, because I want to recite that prayer. This is for all of the trash talk, and worse yet, all of the silence toward the Knicks.
Yeah.
In that Boston series.
Yep.
I could not be more happy. I'm so elated. And now you have all of these clips from a few years ago about the Knicks saving their money so they can give Jalen Brunson his bag, and them saying, Jalen's not going to take you anywhere. He's not even going to take you to the conference finals. Well, I hate to tell you, unless Tyrese Halliburton's dad suits up, the Knicks have a chance here.
Mm-hmm.
The Knicks have it, and they're winning at halftime right now.
They are.
So they have a chance to actually, and I'm going to tell you this. All Jalen Brunson has to do is get the Knicks to the finals, and they were erecting a statue in his honor outside of MSG. They could get swept if he takes them to the finals.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to be Jalen Brunson Day every June 2nd every year.
The day they lock up the conference finals.
It is going to be a madhouse.
Yep.
And if you thought LA residents were idiots, wait until if it happens in New York.
Yeah.
These New Yorkers are going to put the idiocy to LA to shame.
Yep.
They are going to burn cars. They're probably going to burn houses. Hell, they might even burn the men's bathroom on the second floor in MSG. Like it is going to be absolute chaos.
Yeah, it is. Worse than, I don't know. They might give Philly a run for their money when it comes to crazy fans. I'm going to put you on the spot, though. I want to put you on the spot on this because I've had it on my mind. So throughout the entire series, I was harping on the fact that anytime the Knicks lost, the media was all over the fact that like they couldn't wait for them to like choke and do whatever not. I want you off the top of your head to tell me the headlines on I don't know, whatever sports magazine you watch, the headlines after this game 1 ends. What do you think the headline is going to be between the Pacers and the Knicks game?
They're not even going to talk about it.
So the Knicks are going to win.
They're not even. They're not even going to talk about it. The Knicks will win Game 1, and they're not even going to talk about it. They will do everything they can to make it about something else.
Yeah. It was
if
close
anything,
for comfort.
They're going to bury a Game 1 victory by the Knicks. They're going to bury it to talk about SGA.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm leaning with you on the Knicks winning Game 1. I'm going to say that the headline is going to be Knicks won, but a little too close for comfort, because they're going to be like, well, you should have won by more. The Indiana Pacers are a small market team. You should have beat them by more. You're New York's team right now. That's going to be where I think how that gets twisted into not so flat. No matter how how much they win by, they're going to say, well, you could have done better.
Here's a headline for you. The Knicks win Game 1. Well, at least they can say they won one game. That's it. That'll be the headline.
There you go.
At least they gave MSG something.
Yeah, they won a game.
So that'll be the headline. That's it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a good one too.
Jalen Brunson, king for a day. And that's it. That's it. No more.
That's a good spot to end our NBA talk, because we haven't given the Major League Baseball too much attention. So I want to ask you a question, JB. And this is impromptu. We're not prepared for this. I want to ask you, what am I missing about the Detroit Tigers, who are leading their division right now?
Manny, I've told you this in the preseason. I told you Detroit was going to win the AL Central, and it is because when you have the reigning Cy Young, when you have Tariq Skubal headlining that starting rotation, when you have a top pitching prospect in Jackson Jobe, when you have an offense that was the offense was the key to them going on the run last season to get to the playoffs. And I said that the key here was going to be AJ Hinch. You can say what you want about the Houston scandal stros, whatever you want, but AJ Hinch is a damn fine manager. This dude knows baseball, and he knows how to get the best out of his players. Case in point, Javi Baez. Javi Baez was a man on an island, not even Lonely Island, because that's a group. He was on the island behind Lonely Island, and he could barely hear Andy Samberg. That was for 2 years. For 2 years, he had been lost.
Yep.
Lost at the plate and in the field. There was zero El Mago. And now this year, he has redefined himself as a stellar center fielder. Mm-hmm. This dude's robbing homers.
Yeah.
He's making plays.
Yep.
He's hitting 300.
Yep.
He
got a walk-off 2 days ago, right? He got a walk-off win.
He had a walk-off like within a minute later after the Cubs walked it off against the Marlins. Mm-hmm. So it was a special night. It was a very warm night for me. But this Tiger team is not to be trifled with at all. And I mean, yeah, it'd be helpful if the rest of the AL Central would just quit trying. I mean, the Indians already quit trying, and the White Sox, well, they still exist. But the Tigers are not going anywhere. We're at the tail end of May.
Yep.
They were the first team to 30 wins. They're not going to stop, and I'm curious to see what they do with the deadline. I'm very curious to see who they go out and get. Now, it would be fun if the Tigers decided, hey, for old time's sake, let's go bring back Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. Let's bring them back into the rotation, just like old days. Let's bring them back. They can be long relievers. They can just pitch out of the bullpen. But I'm very interested to see what they do at the deadline because this team is not slowing down. They are not.
Yeah. No, I mean they're leading the league in wins right now. I think they have 33.
Yeah.
They're leading the league. I'm just maybe I have to. I'm going to reserve the right to say it's only May before I say this, but maybe I didn't assess the Detroit Tigers properly when we were doing our early season predictions. When I said the Detroit Tigers were like a lightning in a bottle moment where they just happened to get as far as they did in the playoffs. I don't know.
No.
They seem like they're pretty well established. I don't know what they did. I guess the manager would have to be the difference maker for that team because they didn't pick up major pieces. They just kept what they had from last year, and they are just like cruising through their division. I'm concerned. I'm not concerned. I'm curious to see what's going to stop them right now. They're on the last 10 games are on a 7-3 win streak. They have 33 wins. Like they're dominating at home. They're dominating away. Like they have cemented themselves as a pretty damn good team, and I think they're going to run away with the division the way that I'm seeing it now.
There's really nothing stopping them in the division because
for sure.
The Twins are in second place. They're too hot. And they go on too many hot streaks and cold streaks. Mm-hmm. The Royals still have not figured it out yet. The Indians, who are exactly who I thought they'd be, they are frauds. They are good enough to beat pretty good teams. If they go up against a team that actually knows how to play baseball, they are going to lose those games. And the White Sox, like I said,
No.
they still exist. Yeah, I saw that infamous Anakin and Padme
Yeah.
4-tile meme.
Mm-hmm.
I saw one where Anakin was like, "Hey, the Orioles are 1 game ahead of the White Sox," and Padme's like, "Oh, the White Sox must be good," and then she's like, "The White Sox are good, right?" So like it is that's actually more of a diss at Baltimore than it is Chicago.
Yep.
But it is really funny and hey, the White Sox have 2 teams that are taking the heat off of them, Baltimore and Colorado. They did a projection, Manny, and I want you to give me the over-under on what you think the projection is.
Oh, God.
Over-under 30 games projected for the Rockies to win this season.
30 games?
Over-under.
Oh, my God. Let me... They're at 8 right now? Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
They're almost
We're in March, April, May. They've won 8 games, so they're averaging 2 games a month that they win. August. No, I'll take the under on that one. They're averaging 2 wins a month.
It's 27 games. They're projected to win 27 games.
Jesus Christ.
27. That's crazy. We just went through an entire season last year. How the White Sox were so inept at playing baseball. They still are.
Yeah.
But the Rockies, my God. It's laughably bad.
Yep.
It's so bad.
They fired their manager,
It's so
right?
bad,
They fired their manager on Sunday.
They fired the manager. Yep, they fired Bud Black.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well-
Finally, I don't know why they kept him so long. It's not like he was on some like, oh, he's a legend. No, he had a losing record every year.
Yeah,
Like, what
it's
are
been pretty
what are
bad.
you keeping him for? What, you just now found someone who could be more competent than him to win more than 8 games?
I don't think so.
2 months into the season?
The bar is set pretty low. I mean, you could hire me as a manager, and I'd be like, hey, what position do you play? Okay, go play that position and try hitting the ball. And I feel like I could get more than 8 wins out of that team.
You see that baseball out there? I want you to get a hit.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Look at
Coach.
it. Keep your eyes on the ball. I'm going to treat you like the T-ball team. Keep your eyes on the ball.
Yeah.
Swing at anything that's between your knees and your chest, and you got this. I want to talk about the new team that is torn the doors open of the circus and have welcomed themselves as the, we're here to stay team, which is the Orioles. The Orioles, you referenced them a little bit. What is going on with the Orioles? They can't... I at the beginning of the season, I really thought they were here to stay. They were going to be developing the young players. All the young players have fallen off a cliff. Their pitching was bad. We thought that was going to develop into something good. Their pitching has only gone downhill. They're not doing anything on offense. Mm-hmm. They went from the up and coming team to a team that is closer to being at the bottom of the league than they are to be competing for the division.
Yeah, I think it was Zach Eflin that said it best after Brandon Hyde got fired. I mean, what do you expect when you play effing bad baseball?
Yeah.
This is, it's not, if it was the young guys struggling, okay, I would get it. But I said it in the preseason. Unless Mike Elias, the GM of the Baltimore Orioles, opened up those purse strings and went out and got not just 1, 2 frontline starters, Kyle Gibson and Zach Eflin. No disrespect to them, they are not 1 and 2 guys. They are not. They are barely number 5s. Barely number 5s. And when you have Kyle Bradish and you have Grayson Rodriguez, who are still hurt and going to be out for quite some time, you have no pitching. There's no pitching.
No.
They have zero. Zilch.
Yeah.
And so, unless Elias does something and goes out there and makes a move to rejuvenate this team is doomed for last place. And not just last place by a little bit, but last place by a lot. By a lot.
Yeah. Did they also fire their manager? I feel like
They did.
They did.
So far, your pick for Manager of the Year, Derek Shelton, was fired. Brandon Hyde's been fired, and Bud Black's been fired.
I'm not doing too good on my predictions for the MLB. They're making me look. I don't feel like this is my fault. I feel like it's the team's fault. I gave them every opportunity. I put my biases aside. I really gave them credit for what they were building on, and I really gave them the opportunity to prove me wrong. And now they're making me look like the fool for what's going on with their teams. Last team that I want to harp on before we move on to our next segment. The Angels swept the Dodgers over the weekend.
Yes, they did.
Yeah,
they did. They're still below 500. This is, it is remarkable, and it was fun. The Dodgers went on that little slide, that 4-game slide. I think they're in danger. I think they need to blow it up. Okay?
Whoa.
Just trade Yamamoto, trade Shohei. Just give up. Just stop trying. No, the Dodgers will be fine. The Angels still suck. These things happen in baseball. They have these aberrations where it happens. We talk about the lack of parity in NHL. There's so much parity in MLB.
Yeah.
Case in point, the Rockies are coming to Wrigley this weekend. I would not be surprised if the Cubs lost 2 or 3. I wouldn't be. The Cubs could single-handedly be responsible for getting the Rockies to double-digit wins in one series.
Yeah.
So I'm not. There's just too much parity.
Yeah.
There's too much. Baseball is a fickle mistress.
Yeah.
And you better buy her the prettiest necklace and let her show off her lingerie to the men that you told her she's not allowed to see. Because if you don't, she's going to betray you more than she's already betraying you. So just
don't lock
on.
into anything. If you want to have an open marriage with your team, you better lock into that right now.
Baseball is the longest season.
Yes.
It is. I can't tell you how many years it took me, and I remember how many years old I was. I was Monday night's day old when I realized I cannot allow a Cubs loss to affect me. When the Marlins walk off on the Cubs, I can't let it affect me. I can't.
Yep.
Okay? So I just be along for the ride.
Yep. Yep.
It is a long season.
There is a roller coaster of a season ahead of us. JB, I want to give you your Cubs are leading the division right now. Mike.
Yes, they are.
I want to give you a minute, 90 seconds. I'm going to give you the podium and tell me your thoughts on the status of the Chicago Cubs currently.
This bullpen is garbage. I cannot be expected to be a paying subscriber to this team on MLB.TV. We're not even being sponsored. I cannot be continue to watch this team and not know who's coming in the late innings of the game. And why is not Jamison Tyone not going the distance yesterday? He was at 86 pitches through 7. Let the man finish the game. You already don't have a bullpen. Why? And I get it. You're up, 12-1 at that point. Okay, great. I don't care. Your bullpen's tired. Yes, you have an off day tomorrow. You just closed out a series win against Miami. I need to see a shutdown closer on this team within the next 2 months. It needs to happen. It needs to. Or go out and get a starter. Get a frontline starter. First, lock up Kyle Tucker. And second, give PCA his money before he salaries himself out of the range of the Chicago Cubs. Mr. Moneybags owning the insurance company. You need to re-sign Kyle Tucker. You need to trade the outfield prospects and the minors to go get a frontline starter. And then, if you're not going to go get a closer, move Ben Brown, Mr. of only, he throws 2 pitches, move him to the closer slot. He's great for 2 innings. The first 2 innings, he's great. After that, you're not really sure what you're going to get until he develops a 3rd pitch. We need a bullpen. I cannot be sitting on pins and needles hoping the Cubs beat the Marlins. I can't. This cannot be my life. It is too long of a season and too short of a life for me to sit there and hope that Daniel Palencia bounces back from how he failed on Monday night. Thank God he closed it down tonight, but it got too close because those are 3 outfield fly balls. Too close to the wall. It's too close. It's too close. I don't care how fast he throws. My God, he throws heat. But we need a closer. Please, get me a closer and extend Kyle Tucker now. Just get it over with.
This is as JB sits here and watches his Cubs team lead his division, but as you can hear, JB's not satisfied with where they are right now. He expects way more out of his baby Bears. All right, JB, we need to get to our last segment. I think if we skipped out on this segment for the last couple of weeks, so we're bringing it back. We're bringing back our fix of 6. Are you ready to take this and knock it out of the park? Something that every Cubs fan fears whenever they're playing a game, knocking out of the park home run.
I am. JB's fix of 6, number 3. Someone tweeted on the X that the Pirates and Phillies were getting close to a Bryce Harper blockbuster per Ken Rosenthal. Guess what? It's not happening. Okay, stop trolling. Okay, national sports media guys. Enough. What on earth do the Phillies gain by trading Bryce Harper to the Pirates? And who the hell is on Pittsburgh that Philly's gonna want for Bryce Harper? There's no one there. Paul Skeens is not going to Philly. It's not happening. Even if Pittsburgh ate all of Bryce Harper's contract, Paul Skeens is still not leaving Pittsburgh. It's not happening. If I'm Pittsburgh, I'm screening every phone call. I'm not taking another phone call until next trade season. Because it's just going to be bullcrap proposals to try to trade a guy. Honestly, if I'm Ben Cherington, if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm going out trying to breathe some life into this lineup. Bring some life into this roster. You got Paul Skeens. Do something about it. Andrew McCutchen he's still Andrew McCutchen, but he ain't 27-year-old Andrew McCutchen. Okay? And then we got Starling Marte out there in the outfield in their prime. All right? Bring people in here, but enough of the Phillies going to get Paul Skeens by trading Bryce Harper. Makes 0 damn sense. You cost me 5 minutes of my time having to go to Ken Rosenthal's feed and Googling whether or not that was true or not, because it sounded too exotic, but it also sounded too good to be true. JB's fix of 6, number 2. Going back to the Pirates. That story about the fan that fell against Pirates Cubs. They have made an arrest in this. The fan that fell was 20. His friend was 21. His 21-year-old friend bought him alcohol. And they're saying that because he was drunk, that's the reason why he took a plummet. Why he was standing on the railing in the first place, and he took a plummet. So, a whole bunch of mess going out there in Pittsburgh. I don't know what's going on. I mean, this guy must have been like Harrison Ford in The Fugitive, because it took a while for them to figure this out. All you got to do is take a blood alcohol content. Who'd you go to the game with? Oh, that guy? Okay. So, this is still unfolding, still a lot taking place, but it is always sad to hear when a fan hurts himself at any sports game. It sucks.
Yeah.
But whatever measures need to be taken, let them be taken. JB's Fix of 6, number 1. I don't know if this has been approved or not. I know they talked about it. I did not read about all the results from the owners' meeting. But the discussion about reseeding the playoffs after the wild card round. Now, it failed? Oh, that's so stupid. Now JB's Fix of 6, number 1 is different now. This is absolutely asinine. This is so effing retarded. I swear, all the NFL owners ride the short bus to this conference because they're so effing stupid. This is, no one was voting for it to be you do 1 through 7 by record. You still let the crappy teams who won their crappy division still host a playoff game for God knows what reason other than you're an idiot. But why not reseed after the wild card? Why not? Why would you reward a team that made it all the way and had a bye week to play a high seed? It makes 0 sense. What's the incentive to getting a bye week if you're going to have to play a tough team anyway? Why have a bye week? You know what? Let's just do this. No more divisions. No more conferences. Let's just take the top 14 teams. And hell, if the Bills and Chiefs go to the Super Bowl every year, well, by golly, that's what we'll have every year. There's only so far I'll go in being a sports watcher with having to watch idiot owners control the league. And they're already morons because they extended Roger Goodell to be the commissioner because he's the greatest commissioner that they've ever had. This Roger Goodell's an idiot. The NFL owners are idiots. And of course, I'm still going to watch the stupid game, but I'm done for right now. Manny, what's your Fix of 6?
Let me add some key notes to your takes. First off, your Paul Skeens. The Pirates better do something to make sure that he wants to stick around. I'm convinced this is the last season he's gonna want to stick around with that team if they don't do anything to build up that roster.
He has no choice. He's got no choice. He is under arbitration.
He might ask for a trade, and I would encourage him to do so because right now he has like a 3-7 win-loss for the season because he pitches really good, but they can't do anything about it. And your owners meeting take, I'm sorry that I broke the news to you. The Lions withdrew their rule change for the conference realignment.
The Lions did?
Yeah. They were the ones.
The Lions got screwed the most.
They were the ones that initiated the rule, and they withdrew their take. Yeah, exactly. I know. Maybe they didn't want to cause. Maybe the Lions didn't want to cause controversy because they got screwed out of it in the first place, or maybe they just didn't have the votes.
Oh my goodness, what a bunch of pansies. Oh jeez.
But on Manny's Fix of 6, number 3. Following up on the owners meeting that just happened, the tush push is here to stay, and I will tell you, JB, after many conversations that I've heard on the radio, because that is my main intake for sports talk, I am sold on it not getting banned. For teams to cry that they can't stop the tush push being a reason that they want to get it banned kind of irks me a little bit. I understand, like, for the entertainment factor, it is not necessarily very exciting because it's almost a guarantee. But I understand where the owners that voted against banning it voted against it, because if your reasoning for saying we need to ban it is because you can't stop it, perhaps you need to practice regularly to figure out how to stop it. playoffs, your regular season games, you're eventually going to have to come across it. And you know what? I feel for Nick Sirianni. There was a clip that came across my feed where Nick Sirianni was offended that they wanted to ban the tush push. And as he said, we work so effing hard for that play, and for somebody to say they want to ban it because they just can't stop it is an offense to our team. And I hate that I have to agree with him, but I agree with him. I know for a fact they work their asses off to perfect the tush push. And for owners to sit here and say, well, we can't stop it, we should maybe get rid of it. Maybe that's I was initially against the tush push, but I was looking at it as from the entertainment factor where, yeah, it's a guarantee 98% of the time they convert it. This was a target against the Eagles, a target against having a play from them that you just cannot stop. I'm going to side with the Eagles. I know, as a Cowboys fan, it's like blasphemy to say I'm going to side with the Eagles and say I'm on their side. If you can't figure out how to stop the play, work harder during your offseason, spend more time figuring out how to stop it. Additionally, the owners voted to allow NFL players to play in the Olympics for the flag football sports that are happening starting in the LA Olympics. I guess I like that, but at the end of the day, I am going to lean with, well, we're leaning similar to the NBA where your players can play for the Olympics, but are they really going to put effort into it? I'm curious to see if the players that actually sign up to play in the Olympics for flag football are actually going to be putting effort into it, or if we're going to be having B-rated players sign up for the flag football season. And I'm just curious to see if it's going to even mean anything for NFL or American football, because I'm not too convinced that there's going to be major effort coming across for big players that should be competing to represent their country to actually be trying 100% to represent their country. Manny's number 2 fix of 6. Major stories broke. Today, Jim Irsay, the owner of the Colts, passed away today at the age of 65. I'm not a Colts fan, but I have to give homage and give respect to Jim Irsay for what he did for the Colts. And by golly, if there was anything that he brought to that organization, was good quality players, but also quality content for the drama that he was consistently willing to bring into his organization. He had a drug case, he got banned from the NFL, he had a big mouth where he didn't care who he was offending and what feathers he was ruffling in the wrong way. So I'll say rest in peace, Jim Irsay. You built a great organization. I hope you left a good will in place for your organization to follow a good path moving forward, because you did great for your organization for the last 30, 40 years. And on Manny's number 1 fix of 6, we have a report that 106 players officially declared for the NBA draft, as the NBA draft is right around the corner. That is the lowest since 2015. And I know I've said this a billion times, and I will say it a billion times until they change how this works. This 100% has to do with all the NIL money that is coming into college, because you cannot convince me players are opting out of going straight into the NBA because they know they can make just as much money or more money in the college ranks than in the NBA ranks. So I will again harp and ask and plead to the NCAA to fix the way they allow the NIL deals to happen in college sports, because the 106, the lowest point for NBA draftees being eligible, is a testament to what you have brewing on in the college ranks. And this has to be addressed sooner rather than later, before professional leagues inevitably start getting involved in saying, hey, you need to fix this because we are losing out on quality players. We are losing out on quality entertainment, and we do not like the way this is going, where the college sports world is dominating and keeping all their players for a long term because they're paying oodles of money to the players that they have in their rosters. And that is going to wrap up JB's and Manny's Fix of 6.
Manny, what are you drinking today?
I drank a knob. Yes. I will tell you, I have probably 8 to 10 new bottles that I was gifted over the weekend. It was my birthday weekend, so I got a bunch of whiskey that I have to try out. This one is pretty dang good. Knob Creek is pretty good. It's very stick, almost like gives you a sticky taste to it. It's very sweet. It's a smoked honey taste to it. I smoked it even more, so it kind of emphasized that more. But so far, for the first bottle of the gifted bottles, I gotta say, it's pretty dang good. Neat on the rocks, no additives. It was on point for this week. JB?
Wait till you get to my Russell's 10 year.
Oh.
I didn't bring the bottle. I forgot it downstairs, but I had a George Remus bourbon, 114 proof. It's delicious. It's very good. You guys, you listen, you know my take. The higher the proof of a bourbon, the smoother it is for me.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to try a new bourbon or new whiskey or new scotch, I'm going with the highest proof possible. Mm-hmm. And then the stick I was smoking was an Arturo Fuente Maduro Hemingway. Very good, limited edition. But my lighter ran out of juice, which is why I stopped smoking it, because I had to relight it because Manny decided to be a troll and knew that I was going to rant about the Cubs and not smoke it. And he probably knew I was out of juice on my cigar too.
Not. I am no devil's advocate here and planting negative seeds into you. All right. Well, we're done. Happy Wednesday, everyone. JB, tell everyone where they can find us, all the social medias, and where they can listen to full episodes.
Full episodes of Box Scores and Bourbon audio and video on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. Additional content at BSB Sports 24 on TikTok, Insta, and X. And until next time, folks, stay thirsty.
Cheers, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day.